9. We're here, Joe. It's Donnie, Rightside, Joe Lisi. It's time for some college football. You know the way we do it, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. each and every week, getting you set. SportsGrid, college football today. It just has a ring to it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What a weekend of college football. Yeah. I'm amped up, Donnie. I can't get over the slate today, week number 9. Juicy. We're going to dive into some bets. This is what it's all about. Can't wait.
It's like fantastic stuff. You walk into a high-end steakhouse, you get that thing medium well, and boy, it tastes good, Joe. Medium well steaks today.
I can't wait. I didn't even know we were starting the show. I tell you what. Didn't even know. It hit me like as quick as possible.
Like a ton of bricks right now. By the way, we love the SEC because we love really good football, Joe. And that's where we're going to start today. Some of these previews that we're going to go over, the biggest games, the biggest moments, the biggest prop bets, they deal with the SEC, Joe. But I want to take a look at the SEC as a whole. And some people out there are SEC haters, which I can never understand. The reason being, they play the best brand of football. Did you know out there right now, including you, Joe Lisi, there's 10 ranked teams right now in the SEC? Talk to me about the SEC. Come on.
Yeah, I think right now you see Alabama's the top team from the odds perspective, plus 130 heading into the weekend. But it's a coin flip the next 5 or 6 weeks because it is Separation Saturday in the conference. We have multiple games, including Ole Miss and Oklahoma that'll battle it out. Alabama on the road against South Carolina. Texas A&M, the team to beat in the conference that has to go on the road later tonight in Death Valley. That's what's going to play out the rest of the way. And Missouri and Vanderbilt, a separation game to really catapult one of those teams potentially into the top 5. So this is what it's all about. It's still up in the air, but we'll have a better understanding about how the conference will play out after today.
Yeah, 3, 4, and 5 in the nation, right at the top there of the SEC standings here. The Texas A&M Aggies at number 3, Alabama number 4. Those are the two only unbeaten teams in the SEC, Joe. Both of those 4-0. The Texas A&M Aggies, we'll get to them a little bit later. They got a monster game today at LSU as slight favorites here. But Ole Miss is ranked. Texas is ranked. Missouri, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, LSU, and Tennessee. And then you still have teams that are trying to climb up there, like the Florida Gators, playing a little bit better football at this point. But now also, Joe, with a new head coach.
Yeah, they get the victory last week, Donnie, 23-21. They don't cover as a 9.5-point home favorite. And then all of a sudden, Billy Napier's on the outside looking in for a job this season, right? Where does Florida turn? And that could potentially dictate today's outcomes because one of those coaches, Lane Kiffin, been notarized and being absolutely part of that, job search that Florida potentially wants to hire Lane Kiffin. What does that mean for Ole Miss in back-to-back road games? If they lose today, does Lane Kiffin potentially sign on the dotted line Sunday morning? He could be making $12, $13 million with the Gators. It's a step up. And we'll see potentially what happens. But that's what you have to break down in week number 9.
Yeah, I like him at Ole Miss, I do. And I got to tell you, I'd like him even more at Florida. Like, just the big personality, which is what the Florida Gators need now. Coach after coach after coach, time to hire that rock star. He could be that rock star that they need in Gainesville here. But let's start to take a look at that SEC slate today, Joe. And maybe the top game of the day, Missouri taking on Vanderbilt. 2 weeks in a row, we're talking about Vanderbilt as the center of the college football universe. No way, no how. But how about this again, Joe? Vanderbilt is favored to win a football game the same way they were last week against LSU in the exact same line. 2.5s to 3s, depending on where you're shopping at. A total, Joe, opened up at 51.5, now sits at 53.5. The expectations each and every week for Vanderbilt go higher and higher. I love to see it. It's a fun football team. We're not used to this, Joe.
No.
We're not.
Not at all. Clark Lee has done a fantastic job in Nashville, led by their quarterback, Diego Pavia, that did take that game over in the second half, had a touchdown on the ground. His mobility, athleticism really put a lot of pressure on LSU's front seven, and that's going to be the matchup today. Now, you have a Missouri team that went toe-to-toe with Auburn. They pick up the victory in double overtime, 23-17. It is back-to-back road games. You're talking about a team in Vanderbilt, Donnie, 4-0 at home against FCS and FBS opponents. The average margin of victory for the Commodores has been 29.5 points per game. Missouri's a pretty good road team over the past couple of years, 9-4 straight up. This game's going to come down to the speed perspective. We haven't seen Missouri run the football in back-to-back games consistently against Auburn and Alabama. I think the tempo potentially could catch up to Vanderbilt today. I actually like Bo Prabula. I expect a breakout performance by Ahmad Hardy again. I like the upset. Missouri outright over Vanderbilt today.
It's hard to win football games in college football, big division play, or should I say big conference play like the SEC. I always like to get a kick out of this, like the anomaly that is college football, where in the pros it's usually like home game, away game, home game, away game. That's not the case in college football. Look at Missouri's schedule, Joe. Home against Central Arkansas, home against Kansas, home against Louisiana, home against South Carolina, home against UMass, home against Alabama, on the road against Auburn. You get that loss, and then you go on the road once again against Vanderbilt. Talk to me now about, are we just more of a home game here? Was that an anomaly last week they picked up the loss? Because it's hard to win. And also, we saw Vanderbilt play big games at home and win those games.
Yeah, I talked about it. Almost 30 points per game for Vanderbilt.
Yep.
They're in the top 10 for the first time. I mean, you can go back years now and decades. They were favored in the series against LSU. But again, I think that when you look at the football matchup for this game, you look at Missouri's front seven. They're only giving up 83 rushing yards per game, 2.8 yards per carry. I actually believe Missouri, if you want to take a game that just stands out for me, it was the Alabama game where Missouri did go toe-to-toe from a defensive perspective, contain Ryan Williams, contain Jeremy Bernard in that matchup at home. They lost, had an opportunity to potentially win it in the fourth quarter, but I think that'll carry through into this game. Not a knock on Vanderbilt. They're holding opposing offenses to around 93 rushing yards per game, only 3.5 yards per carry. They held LSU last week to only 100 yards on the ground. They limited Nussmeier, very opportunistic on the back end as well, but it's going to come down to speed. I think Missouri has a little bit better speed. I believe more in Drinkowitz than I do Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt. Even though they've stepped up, I think speed kills, and that's where Missouri has an advantage.
Talk to me about Vanderbilt here, Joe, because the one loss of the season was at Alabama, 30-14 final on that one. Then they rebound, they take on LSU and beat them at home. Upcoming games, I should say. This weekend, of course, we're talking about the game right now against Missouri. Then you go on the road to play Texas. Maybe Texas gets it together, really good defense, but still a tough place to play down in Austin. Then you have Auburn and Kentucky at home before you end the season at Tennessee. Is there an opportunity in your mind, Joe, that they can run the table? Or do we just look at it and say, they're a good football team, but come on, man, you play in the SEC. You get no layups the rest of the way.
They get this victory today, and let's not forget, they went toe-to-toe with Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's only lost one home game dating back to 2020. That came by Quinn Ewers and Sarkisian a couple of years ago. But at the end of the day, they were in striking distance as a 9.5-point underdog. I think this game does pose problems, but if they get this victory and win in convincing fashion, they're going to be potentially favored in a couple of matchups. Now, you have to keep an eye out for Tennessee at the end of the year. It's an in-state rivalry. Tennessee potentially has a speed advantage as well, but they're going on the road today against Kentucky. You mentioned Auburn. What happens with Auburn the rest of the way? Tough ball game on the road against Arkansas. Will they be checked out at that point? So again, I think if Vanderbilt gets the victory today, or Missouri, they're going to be that potential team as an at-large to crack the college football playoff. Even if they have 2 losses on the year, quality losses I think will matter, and both of them have come at this point to Alabama. So that's, you look at Missouri, 3-point loss at home. You look at Vanderbilt, they lost it by double digits, but that was the last touchdown by Jam Miller. So they're going to be in the conversation, whoever picks up the victory today.
And also, talk about Diego Pavia, because he's been absolutely sensational this season. And Bo Prabula, the joke's like, maybe should have stayed at Penn State, could have helped them out. But Diego Pavia, 1,569 yards passing on the season, Joe. Also the leading ground gainer for the Vanderbilt Commodores here at 438. Also has 4 touchdowns on the ground, along with those 15 touchdowns throughout the air. Like, again, week after week, defenses are designed to stop them. They don't seem to be slowing him down, obviously outside of Alabama. What are the prospects today for Diego Pavia? And also with a victory, climbing the standings here in the Heisman talk.
There's no doubt. And when he's combining for basically 250 total yards, maybe 50 yards on the ground, 200 through the air, they are a dangerous football team. You can go back to that game against LSU. LSU made a cardinal sin, blitzing Pavia off the edge. That allowed him to catch the edge with the RPO game, and they were at a significant disadvantage. This Vanderbilt offense is converting 55% on third down opportunities. That's where I actually think Missouri, that plays very good third down defense, holding opposing offenses right in the area of about 30% on third down. They have the advantage over where LSU was last week. They're speedy speedy. They can run sideline to sideline. That's the difference.
Had some fun last week for me. Vanderbilt -2.5. Cashed that check there. 56.5 as a rushing prop there. Also for Diego Pavia last week. Cashed that check. And by the way, spread today, Joe, -2.5. Diego Pavia's rushing prop, 56.5 again. Could we have a repeat, people? Come on back with us. It's College Football Today, Radio and Sports. You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point. But if we see one of those performances 17-14 Texas.
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah, come on.
Right? I mean, really. I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
We've had an undefeated regular season a couple times in the NFL. The Patriots, of course, did it before losing in the Super Bowl to the Giants. The 72 Dolphins, of course, did it en route to a Super Bowl win. But to go winless is harder than to win every single game. And my New York Jets are well on their way to doing this.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, College Football Today. Donnie Rightside, Joe Lisi. The fun has only begun here because we are talking SEC football. Maybe it'll be even a little bit more fun if the LSU Tigers have been winning more football games here. It's not fun for Brian Kelly. It's not fun for my guy, Joe Lisi. Let's start here. The problems with LSU. It's not talent, Joe.
No, it's not. It's Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator. I really think that he needs to kick up his game a little bit for LSU to potentially win this game. Now, we just talked about a weather report. Potential rain in the forecast a little bit later for the LSU Tigers.
I
did look like that last weekend. Let me tell you, after that pitiful defensive performance against Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, I deserve to look like that for backing the Tigers last week. But I'll just say this about LSU. They're underdogs yet again in Death Valley. We saw LSU over the past 3 seasons be underdogs 4 times, Donnie. Last year against Ole Miss, they caught 4, won the game outright. They caught 2.5 against Bama and lost. 2022, they caught 2.5 against Tennessee, got crushed in Death Valley, and then did win outright as a 13.5-point underdog, knocking off Nick Saban and Alabama en route to the SEC West in year number 1. They're 4-0 at home this year. 3 wins against FBS opponents have come by 12 points per game. Yeah. But if this offense, number 1, can't stretch Texas A&M over the top, this is going to be a long day. Marcel Reed and that offense are hitting on all cylinders. They're averaging well over 35 points per game, over 280 passing yards per game. Marcel Reed killed them last year, 9 carries, 62 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This isn't about the defense. This is about Joe Sloan and the LSU offense. I'm talking to you, brother. Take the governor off the LSU offense. You have speed, yet you'll only want to run and throw sideline to sideline. Open it up and allow this offense to cook. Here's the other thing. Garrett Nussmeier last year, Donnie, 8 times threw for over 300 yards. He had 1 400-yard performance. They won those games. They were 6-2 overall, won by an average margin of victory of basically 13-plus per game. He doesn't have 1 game where he's thrown for over 300 this year. Take the governor off. If they don't win this tonight.
Ooh, boy.
Joe Sloan should be fired, and Brian Kelly maybe should be out the door as well.
How about that? Strong points here by Joe Lisi. And by the way, you take a look at the line, Joe. The opening line, did you know some sports books had LSU as high as a 5.5-point favorite? They ain't even favorites anymore. -2.5 has completely switched over to Texas A&M, who is having the better season, and a total of 49.5. And Joe also brought up some rain in the forecast this evening. But I do want to talk about that offense for LSU because coming into the season, Joe, I don't think, handicappers or analysts like yourself are saying, you know what I think is going to happen this year? LSU's going to struggle on offense. So let's take a look at the games against like competition for this offense, Joe. Clemson, 17-10. And we know how Clemson's actually turned out at this point. Not a great football team. You take a look at Florida, 20-10 victory. You take a look at Ole Miss, 24-19. That was a loss. South Carolina, 20-10. That was a victory. Vanderbilt last week, 31-24, which means they only scored 24 points. Now guess, 56-10, Southeast Louisiana. Congratulations. We're not used to seeing this from an LSU offense, and sometimes it's just changing things up, Joe. The tendencies, as you like to say, what are they? You have speed at wide receiver. You have a solid offensive line. You have running backs. You had a quarterback coming into the season that we thought might be able to win the Heisman Trophy, and also, Joe, be the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. We are not seeing it right now.
No, not at all. Now, I will say the secondary is the strength of LSU's defense. They're holding opposing offenses to 58%. Completion percentage, only 189 passing yards per game. They've only allowed 5 touchdowns and have forced 8 interceptions. But the problem, Donnie, for their offense in this matchup right now, you have the #1 ranked statistical third down defense in Texas A&M, holding opposing offenses to 22% conversion rate. Over the last 4 weeks, right? Think about this. They have held opponents in the SEC to 6 of 43 attempts on third down. That's 13%.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal rate. They had a great effort last week, even though they gave up 42 points against Arkansas. They held them to 4 of 10 on third downs, and that was with Mike Washington and Taylon Green. This offense for LSU is inconsistent.
Yeah.
They can't run the football. They can't go vertical with Nussmeier. That's going to be a problem, especially if it's a wet track. Now, the only benefit that LSU has in this matchup, it's in Death Valley. You should get a dynamic effort, but without Weeks, they're going to have to win the turnover battle. Again, I reluctantly think that LSU steps up, but again, A&M's playing lights out, and Marcel Reed is the difference. He's completed well over 60% of his passes. He can run it. He can throw it. Owens, the running back, is phenomenal. Taking over for Le'Veon Moss, that's going to be potentially the difference in this ballgame.
Things start to get a little bit tougher, Joe, for Texas A&M here coming up in the SEC. And so, well, Donnie, what have they been doing? Well, obviously, that nice victory against Notre Dame, 41-40. You'll take that. Auburn not having a great season. Mississippi State not having a great season. Florida and Arkansas. So it's almost like you got some layups out of the way, which can to inflate your record. But there's no question you put it on the tape for A&M. They can move it on offense. But hear me out, Joe. In the midst now of 3 straight road games here in the SEC. Game #1, which was at Arkansas, 45-42. Love the victory, yeah. A little bit too close for comfort there. Now you have LSU on the road. Then you have Missouri on the road after that, Joe. South Carolina at home, Samford at home, and then you end the season at Texas. You're really going to find out if this is a fluff team where it's like, okay, Elko, like what you're doing right here. Of course, you're undefeated. Let's see where this goes. This could go off the rails, Joe, or this could just be, you know what? A&M is really that good.
Yeah, they are good. And I think the biggest thing is the defensive perspective. What Elko has done in year #2, we know that their offense has been very explosive. Concepcion, the wide receiver that transferred in from NC State, has been an added dimension for that offense, and they could tack on 30, 40 points on anybody. I think when you look at how does LSU potentially attack A&M's defense, they're giving up 122 rushing yards per game to opposing offenses, 200 yards in the back end. If it is going to be, let's just say, a little bit of a wet track, they're going to have to utilize short to intermediate throws. But it's not just Trey Des Green, their tight end, that had a huge performance. Nussmeier now has built a relationship with him. You have to get the wide receivers involved. Aaron Anderson came back last week from injury. They hardly utilized him in that offense. You have Nick Anderson. You have Darian Brown. You have speed to run off the secondary and the nickelbacks and the linebackers to open up the run later in ball games. And Joe Sloan is like a deer in the headlights. This was one of the worst hires for LSU. I'm serious, because once they got rid of Denbrock, this offense seemed to fall apart, and right now they need to fix it. Brian Kelly's on the hot seat. You're not getting $11.5 million to go 8-4 every year. You win the West in year number 1, and all of a sudden you fell off a cliff. Unacceptable in Baton Rouge.
By the way, Joe, let me ask you this quick question. Rain is in this forecast tonight. Who does that favor? To me, it feels like it favors A&M, to be honest.
It does, because there's a non-existent rushing attack for LSU right now, and that is a big problem. They would be much better off with a dry track and allowing Nussmeier to cook. Now they're at a disadvantage.
Yeah, it should be interesting the way this one certainly plays out. 7:30 p.m. tonight in Death Valley, usually one of the places that college football teams do not want to go to because your win streak will end. But the favorite tonight is not LSU. It's actually Texas A&M. We'll talk more about this game. And also, keep it in the SEC, Joe. Ole Miss, Oklahoma up next. You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy, because it just feels like Texas is going to come in and play really good defense and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see, because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point. But if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas.
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah, come on.
Right? I mean, really. I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, it looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
We've had an undefeated regular season a couple times in the NFL. The Patriots, of course, did it before losing in the Super Bowl to the Giants. The 72 Dolphins, of course, did it en route to a Super Bowl win. But to go winless is harder than to win every single game. And my New York Jets are well on their way to doing this.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
More SEC action right here on SportsGrid College Football Today. It's a Saturday. It's beautiful. It's late October. Where'd the time go, Joe? We're talking about week 9 right now. It was week 0. Feels like just a few short weeks ago. But the SEC is going to have its stamp on the national championship picture. And the one team that could have a stamp on that is Ole Miss. The question is, are they going to stamp their future head coach in Ole Miss and Oxford? Are they going to stamp him down to Gainesville, Joe? Come on now.
I tell you, I mean, isn't he playing a little bit with house money? If you're Lane, he's got bargaining power right now. He goes in, he wins this game. He's going to be leveraged just the way Signetti was and asking for an extension or whatever he wants, potentially in Oxford. He loses, he still has a fail-safe to go to Gainesville because they know he's the number one candidate on the list. I think when you look at this matchup and when you look at the game last week, you and I both like Georgia. I didn't think that they were going to tack on 35-plus points, have a first-half lead of 21-16, and basically blow it in the final 2 minutes, and that's exactly what Ole Miss did. This game is interesting because you have an explosive offense going up against one of the best defenses in the conference and in all of college football in Oklahoma. When you look at the front seven for Ole Miss right now, they're giving up 166 rushing yards per game. They allowed Georgia to pound the rock for 221 and basically almost 5 yards per carry in that victory. That's what Oklahoma's going to look to do. They rushed and pounded the rock for $171 against South Carolina. That was a physical game. They built a first-half lead, 14-0. This defense held on, and they have the veteran quarterback Mateer over Trinidad Chambliss, even though Chambliss played well. I lean to Oklahoma simply because they're undefeated at home this year, 4-0. They've won those games by an average margin of victory against FCS and FBS opponents by 23.2 points per game. I believe in the physicality of the defense, and I think that's where this game is won or lost. We saw 5.5s yesterday.
Yeah.
Seeing more 4.5s right now. I'll still lay it with the Sooners.
Yeah, just looking at FanDuel's opening line, Joe, for this game with Ole Miss and Oklahoma. It opened up at -3.5, and then we see that move here, 4.5. There are some outlets, Bet365, and some outlets in Las Vegas that are listed at -5s, and the total up from 50.5 is that opening number to 52.5 here. Talk to me, Joe, about Oklahoma. Mateer before injury. Oh, my goodness, offense looks incredibly good here. They should be able to maybe win this conference, and or he can win the Heisman Trophy. Comes back, maybe rushed it a little bit. What are the options for Mateer today? Do we see what we expected to see from the beginning of the year, or we're still working our way back here?
No, I think he's more in a rhythm than what he was a couple of weeks ago, and I think actually Brett Venables and that staff sort of did a disservice against Mateer and the team by starting him against Texas. And I'll just tell you why. If they would have went with Michael Hawkins, Donnie, right, and started the game, even if, let's say, they were trailing in the fourth quarter, they could have brought in Mateer in an emergency situation and said, you know what, we'll try to pull it out. If they would have lost that game the way they did, right, with Hawkins, they have a flyer to tell the committee, hey, we lost one game, our starting quarterback was out. They would have gotten the benefit of the doubt, and you still would have rested John Mateer for an extra week. They rush him back. He didn't perform well. You saw more about what he was involved last week. It was more consistent with the passing game. He looked like he was on, could take hits. I think now he's 100% healthy, but it's going to come down to the physicality of the offense and defensive lines. The fact that there's rain in the forecast, I think, benefits Oklahoma more than it benefits Ole Miss. Ole Miss more of a finesse offense. I still think Blaylock and that rushing attack for Oklahoma can get right, run it between the tackles, and even Mateer being the veteran, I think that's where the difference holds, and that's why I would lay the 4.5 in this ballgame.
Yeah, I'm feeling Ole Miss a little bit in this game, too, because you do take a look at the quarterback position, and Mateer, again, was on that trajectory of he could possibly win the Heisman. You look at his statistics show, and again, he did miss some time. 1,500 passing yards here, 7 touchdowns, but 6 interceptions here on the ground. Obviously, Blaylock is their leader. But Chambliss on the other side, I'm intrigued by this kid week to week, but also understand this. Like, I know you got all that tape from Division II before, and you can check it in, but now he's on tape with these SEC teams. Talking about him, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1,500 yards. They also have a pretty good ground game. But Chambliss in this game today is going to have to be the go-to guy, man.
He is. And not just through the air, but on the ground. And when you look at last week against Georgia, right, he had made some plays, but they only, as a collective team, rushed for 88 yards against that Georgia front seven. It's going to be difficult to run the football yet again against that front seven in Oklahoma that's holding opposing offenses well under 4 yards per carry. They shut down Lenora Sellers in that rushing attack last week. I think they could duplicate that in this ballgame. Again, when you look at Trinidad Chambliss, can he put pressure on that defense on the perimeter to sustain drives is going to be critical. Let's not forget, Oklahoma held down Sellers. They held down Jackson Arnold, another mobile quarterback earlier in the year. They held down Bryce Underwood for the most part. So they have stepped up against mobile quarterbacks at home and on the road, and I think that's why it's an uphill battle. Should be a very great game and one of the best games on the board, but I still lean to the physicality of Oklahoma.
This is a massive game too, Joe, because you see that Georgia game, 43-35, which they lost, and coming off a loss is never tough, and you're going back on the road against a quality opponent. If they can get by, and it's a big if, Oklahoma, Joe, South Carolina, the Citadel, home versus Florida, at Mississippi State.
Everything's
they can run
in front
through.
Yeah, that's why if they get through, they have like a 73% shot to make the playoff.
Might take $20 million a year to get this guy down there to Gainesville. We'll be right back. College football today. You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point. But if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas.
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah, come on.
Right? I mean, really. I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, no, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year. And I think big picture, they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
We've had an undefeated regular season a couple times in the NFL. The Patriots, of course, did it before losing in the Super Bowl to the Giants. The 72 Dolphins, of course, did it en route to a Super Bowl win. But to go winless is harder than to win every single game. And my New York Jets are well on their way to doing this.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, college football today, the best of the rest. Now, the best maybe not even playing football today. Why would I bring that up, Joe? Do you have any ideas why I would say the best might not be actually playing today?
Georgia's off.
No, not Georgia.
No.
I'm talking about the biggest national
Ohio
power
State.
we've ever seen in the history of college football that will be ushered into a playoff scenario. Do you know who that team is?
No, tell me.
All right. Mike's, come on. Mike's are on. Is it on? Check one, check two. Give me the camera right now. All right. We're going to do this every week because it makes some sense. And me being, once again, the most unbiased person here at the SportsGrid Network. I don't like Notre Dame at all. But when I see greatness, I know exactly where it's coming from. And it's emanating out of South Bend right now, Joe. First two games of the year. Again, I'll talk to it. Miami, Texas A&M. Nobody's beating those two teams, Joe. Miami has a loss. Don't even look at it that way. Texas A&M's undefeated. That's just the way it is. Then we had wins against Purdue, Arkansas, Boise State, NC State, and a ranked USC team easily dispatched last week, 34-24. They have a bye week, Joe. Then they have Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford. You know who envies the schedule? The guy doesn't even have a job right now, and he used to coach in Penn State. That's James Franklin.
Okay.
He would love this schedule right now because Notre Dame will be in the college football playoff. It sounds easy right now. Like, of course, Donnie, they're going to make it. But me, your boy, DRS, on the SportsGrid Network, Joe, said from day number one when they had two losses, this team will be in the college football playoff. They're a minus 300 to make the playoff. There's me. There's the leprechaun. And look at that, Joe. You're a finance bro. See that thing? Goes down, then goes up. We bought the dip. And now we're seeing our profits. It's fantastic, and they're realized.
Could be what they call a dead cat bounce, and you want to sell it.
Come on now. Come on.
You were pumping up Miami not too long ago. They got smacked around by Louisville on Friday night, and all of a sudden, where are the Hurricanes? Oh, they're wearing camouflage today as a 30-point home favorite against Stanford. I forgot. Yeah, Notre Dame's playing well, but let's just be honest.
Yeah, can't stop them.
They're gonna. What
Can't stop. Nobody can stop this team.
USC has no defense. That's the problem why they lost that game.
You loved USC last week.
No, I didn't like USC. I thought Notre Dame would run all over them, and Price and Love are still running against that Trojans defense, and Lincoln Riley's gutless. I will say, out of the rest of the schedule for Notre Dame, that Pitt game could be a little tricky, especially if Pitt knocks off NC State today. Mason Heinsteigel's been playing out of his mind. They've won 3 straight. If Notre Dame wins out, I still think it's an uphill battle at 10-2 overall.
Oh, no.
But they are playing much better. I'll give you credit. And that's not a knock on Marcus Freeman. But they haven't beaten anybody. They have not beaten anybody. I'm sorry.
They played the two
and if Miami is a
teams
typical Miami team and they lose another game or potentially 2, then all of a sudden that Miami loss on the road week 1 looks absolutely atrocious.
The Notre Dame Fighting Irish minus 300 to make the college football playoff continues to roll in. I can't wait, Joe. We're going to be on the same desk. We're going to be talking about the college football playoff and who that's going to be. Look at that. Buy all the way up. Joe, by the way, see that graphic? Minus 300? Steal. Put all your money in it.
No.
Not an Anacott steal. Put it all in this right here. All right? That's all you want to see.
No shot.
All right. How about best
At
of the
least
rest?
you're good, though, until next week.
Look, we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Like I've been up here each and every week saying Notre Dame's going to make it. You've been slandering. Sooner than later, you're going to jump on this bandwagon. I just want to know when it is.
Not now.
How about this bandwagon, Alabama and South Carolina? What happened to South Carolina, by the way? Is Beamer going to be up for like the Penn State job at this point? He's going back to Virginia Tech because he's going to get run out of town, Joe? But they are. Talking about South Carolina, double-digit underdogs to Alabama. Could we have a trap game in South Carolina?
I think we can, and you just look at 4 straight games for Alabama. Now, I'm not suggesting that Alabama loses this game in Williams-Brice, but even though South Carolina had a disappointing home loss to Oklahoma and got beat up, I still think it's a potential bounce-back spot. This is their Super Bowl. They're 1-4 in the conference right now. And last year, Lenora Sellers and that team pushed Alabama to the limit. 27-25 they lost, but covered as basically almost a 20-point underdog in that matchup. This is going to come down to, can South Carolina move the football through the air? Lenora Sellers has been average at best, 120, 125, and 128 just in terms of the last 3 games passing performance. I think he potentially steps up. You look at Alabama's body of work, they're still not good in run support, giving up 157 rushing yards per game. I don't think last week, when you look at the Alabama game, Tennessee utilized the rushing attack early enough. They were able to run in the second half. I think South Carolina does. I think they cover this line. I booked it at 12.5. Give me the Gamecocks.
You know what they need, Joe?
Let me hear it.
They need Kane at quarterback. They need
Kane.
Mack at linebacker.
Joe Kane.
They need Latimer on the defensive line and be able to get busy.
Joe Kane.
Fantastic. By the way, wouldn't you love to have been in that
program.
audience? Did they film that doing a regular game? Like they were playing like Georgia Tech and stuff at that time. Was that a regular game or a spring game? What was it?
Yeah, the program, 1993. It was Joe Kane. Khan was the coach.
Yeah.
Lattimore, and then
Sonny.
Alvin Mack got hurt against Iowa.
Sonny went from gangster to college football coach. Fantastic
that was
stuff.
great
movie,
Sonny
by the way,
was
if you guys
good.
want to check that one out. You know what's even better? Stanford and Miami.
No,
Look, let me tell you
Come
something.
on.
Nobody was going to beat Louisville, too. Louisville's the best team I've ever seen in my life. Nobody was going to beat them. So it's sort of a layup for Miami. There's still a path to get to the college football playoff, but my goodness, they had everything, all those tailwinds behind them, ready to go, and kapoof.
Okay.
Carson Wentz popped up, not Carson Beck.
Stanford gets the victory last Saturday night, late night over Mike Norvell, 20
They're
to
gonna
13.
keep him, Joe.
They're
They're gonna
playing
keep
with
him.
outsmarted. Here's the thing, Donnie. Look, is Miami going to be up for this game, and they're going to put up a 30 spot at home? A 30 spot. Look, I'm taking the 29.5. Again, it's probably not going to make my card, but if you're asking me to take Miami laying such a huge number, I can't do it. Carson Beck relegated to this old performance on the road in Georgia. We saw a pitiful performance. Should have had 5 interceptions. I mean, where's the mindset of this team? Again, they might come out flat, maybe Stanford first half, but I can only look Cardinal in this ballgame.
They couldn't run the football last week for Miami. Maybe they get back to that ground game. But again, we're not talking about, hey, Stanford's coming to town. It's -3.5. Like, there are 4 touchdown-plus favorites in this game. But I do agree with you. It feels like a get-right game with Miami. Not get right like, oh, we got to beat them 65-3. Let's get the win. Let's regroup. Let's get on with our season at this point. And I'll take the points because they were as high as 30.5 at points this week. Now starting to come back down slightly there to 29.5. But a big hit for Miami last week on that national stage saying, you know what, on a Friday night against a good football team, you're a 2-touchdown favorite at home. You're supposed to win that game, not lose it. Mario Cristobal once again is, he can't win that big game. Well, he's won a couple big games this year, but you can't drop the games you're supposed to win either at that point here. How about BYU and Iowa State, Joe? BYU! I mean, are we on the way to a college football playoff right now? They're actually getting points in Ames today, going up against Iowa State in the total. That's just at 49.5. BYU as a doggy here, Joe.
Yeah, we saw the situation play out. They were 7-0 last year, and then all of a sudden got knocked around a couple games down the stretch before winning the bowl game against Colorado. Iowa State has to win this game, right? They have an outside shot to potentially win the Big 12 championship. It starts today. The fact that it's in Jack Trice Stadium, I think, benefits Iowa State. Still give the quarterback advantage to Rocco Beck. I like Iowa State at home. I know they didn't step up against Cincinnati, but that Cincinnati team has proven to be one of the most dominant in the Big 12 right now. They play Baylor a little bit later. Give me Iowa State. I would lay it. Bachmeier's played well, and L.J. Martin in that offense can pound the rock, but they're coming off the Holy War. They got that victory. Now you got to go on the road. I think they get clipped today.
It's pretty interesting, too, because you have a quarterback that leaves. Oh, they're not going to be able to rebound. Really good season on the way here for BYU. We'll see if it continues today at Iowa State. Let's fit in one more game in this segment, Joe. Illinois and Washington. Illinois on the road, Pacific Northwest. No surprise, clouds with a chance of some drizzle and rain in the forecast. But Washington is a favorite here at minus 3.5 points. And the total, Joe, opened up at 54.5, still sits 54.5 across the board. Big Ten battle.
What's interesting is Jed Fish being mentioned now for some of these other jobs. He just got to Seattle last year. I mean, it's incredible. Yep. DeMond Williams and Coleman, the running back for Washington, got smacked around by Michigan. They're a much better home team than they are the road. Look, it wouldn't shock me if Illinois wins this game, but the fact that it's cross-country basically from the Midwest to Seattle, I benefit the Huskies, and the speed, I benefit Washington's offense. Again, one of my favorite running backs is Coleman. Tough runner between the tackles. I lean to Washington because they're in Seattle and that defense. They're stepping up, more opportunistic in Husky Stadium. Give me Washington laying the 4.5. Don't love it, though.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do feel we get points over the total today.
Interesting, too. Both of these teams, Joe, in the Big Ten, sitting at 2-2, obviously behind the big boys in that division, which is actually the Indiana Hoosiers at 4-0 and the Ohio State Buckeyes at 4-0. It's a pretty big one here, so it looks like one of these teams is going to move to 3-2. Husky Stadium, Joe, comes alive today? They get the boys back?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, they should be roaring today.
Best of the rest. That's how we get done. We got many more games to go throughout this program here, but also when we need to talk SEC, which we will next, who do we need? I don't know, maybe an SEC coach? Maybe a guy that's going unbeaten in the SEC? That's our guy, Coach Terry Bowden. He's going to join us next right here. You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in and play really good defense and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point. But if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas.
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah, come on.
Right? I mean, really. I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
We've had an undefeated regular season a couple times in the NFL. The Patriots, of course, did it before losing in the Super Bowl to the Giants. The 72 Dolphins, of course, did it en route to a Super Bowl win. But to go winless is harder than to win every single game. And my New York Jets are well on their way to doing this.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid College Football Today, Saturday morning, getting you ready for the action, which picks up right at 12 o'clock with a couple big games here. Donnie Rightside along with Joe Lisi, but this is the time we love to bring in the coach, Coach Terry Bowden. He's on location today, people. Coach, where are you at today?
West by God, Virginia. I'm going to hear Country Roads in a couple hours, maybe 5 or 6 hours, but a reunion of Bobby's boys. Bobby Bowden, head coach here back in the day. My brother Tommy and I played. And the amazing thing, in fact, many people don't know, my dad's offensive coordinator, Frank Signetti, father of Kurt Signetti, was my dad's offensive coordinator during those days and eventually became my head coach after my dad left. So a lot of connections to West Virginia for me and Kurt Signetti.
The Bowden family, certainly the first family of college football. Coach Bowden, always all of his guys in Auburn now. He's in West Virginia making his rounds. But this is the reason why we love to talk to you, Coach. You've been in the SEC. You've played week to week to week against the top competition. And we're going to talk about some of that top competition right now. Missouri and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt last week, big-time win over LSU, Coach. Now they have to do it again against another ranked opponent at home. Similar conditions, being favored at -2.5 to 3 points here. As a head football coach, sometimes you get up for the big games, got to rally the boys for the games you're supposed to win. Each and every week in the SEC is a must-win, Coach. Talk to me about Missouri and Vanderbilt.
Two similar teams. Great coaching. They find a way to win. These teams play with confidence. They believe they're going to win. They win with their teamwork, with their system, and what they do as a team. But you know what? When it comes down to this game, the most important guy on the field is Diego Pavia. He is the difference maker in the game, and because he goes with Vandy, I've got to give them the win and the points. If Ahmad Hardy at Missouri has a great day, that might change it. But he's run for less than 200 the last 2 games. So give me Diego Pavia and whatever team he's playing for.
Coach, when you look at Missouri, it is back-to-back road games. I know you watched the win over Auburn, and you mentioned Hardy being contained for only 58 yards against a very good front seven. What could Drinkowitz and their quarterback, Bo Perbula, do to potentially strike the upset on the road offensively?
Well, you know what? I think what's going to happen, Vandy's going to say the same thing we have just said. We've got to stop Hardy if we're going to beat this football team. So I would open the game with a very good combination of throws mixed in with less runs than throws early in the game to get them playing, backing up or on their heels. And then and keep the game close. Don't turn the ball over. And then as the game goes forward, that's when you want to let Hardy do his thing as it gets to the second half, the third and fourth quarter, because that's when teams get a little bit more tired on defense. That's when a great back puts his best yardage in the game.
Absolutely, Coach. Taking a look at another SEC tilt tonight. You're looking at a 7:30 start. Tiger Stadium here, Death Valley. It's going to be rocking tonight. But LSU, not the favorite at home. It's Texas A&M. The unbeaten Aggies here come onto the road. If we look at LSU this year, because that's really the question mark, Coach, what have you seen from LSU? Why can't we get this offense moving?
Well, they just have not got a great running attack. I think they never committed. They should have gotten it answered in the offseason because they weren't very good last year. They have the same problems, and when you don't run the ball well consistently, all of a sudden too many third downs, all of a sudden your quarterback has too many turnovers or can't win it by himself, or the defense gets too much responsibility, and they just have failed offensively to do what they have to do. And this is the 4th year for Brian Kelly at LSU. He hasn't taken them to the SEC championship or the playoffs, and he's making $100 million. So it's a critical game for them at home. But I'm going to tell you, the other team is playing great. Whether they got to score a lot or score a little is Texas A&M. If they've got to score a lot, I don't think they'll have to score a lot because LSU cannot score. But whatever Texas A&M has to do, score big or play great defense, they're going to do and win this game and cover.
Coach, we talked about the athleticism of Marcel Reed. Why do mobile quarterbacks seem to exploit LSU's defense? We know they can run sideline to sideline, but every week we see another mobile quarterback abuse them.
Well, you know what, and this goes back, and I don't know why enough teams don't defend it, but when you're taking your defense, everybody's got a gap responsibility. Everybody's got to take care of an area of the field, and they always leave out the quarterback as a runner. He's the one guy that can't be accounted for in most defenses, and so he's the one that they do the poorest job of covering. And some teams never get over this, and LSU has not ever played well against a dual-threat quarterback. So that's one of the reasons you say, you know what, no matter how well they play, Marcel Reed can run or throw and beat you, and I think that's the difference. And I think they have to do a great job this past week of scheming to keep somebody spying on scrambles, to keep somebody covering on the zone read on the outside. You've got to make sure he doesn't beat you first and make them beat you at the conventional running style game.
Let's get out to Oklahoma here, Coach. Ole Miss taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma is a favorite by about 4.5 points. Here's the interesting part. Like, Ole Miss last week suffered a loss there against Georgia. Great football game, but everything is still in front of them. But also, Coach, talk to me about Lane Kiffin, who there's a couple big-time coaching situations out there that need to be resolved with a lot of money. Talk to me, how do you coach a football team in big moments and understand that you got to still live in the moment, but, boy, there are some big options on the horizon for both Ole Miss and also their head football coach.
And I think this will have a bit of a factor with Lane Kiffin. Kurt Signetti, in with matter a couple of days, he said, "I'm taking a new contract. I'm signing on the dotted line. This is where I end up." Kiffin didn't do that. He said, "Let's wait and see," which makes me think he's probably letting things enter his mind and thinking about it. That's going to be a negative for him. But the big thing is the way Oklahoma's playing. They've got the number one defense in the country. They've got the number one sack team in the country. And their head coach, Brent Venables, is the one leading that defense. And if their quarterback, John Mateer, plays as a healthy quarterback, the way he played to begin the season, Oklahoma's going to win this game, and they're going to cover. And I think when they do, they will be back in the hunt for that conference championship game and then the conference and then the college football playoffs.
Coach, I just want to look at Ole Miss's defense because we talked about it a little bit weaker in run support. What could they do to potentially steal this win defensively in containing Mateer?
Well, I think anytime it's really when you want to beat the quarterback, you got to stop the run. Because what happens is when you allow them to run the football, the quarterback's throwing on 3rd and 3 to 6. He's throwing on 2nd down and short. He's given great opportunities. So what you got to do is completely destroy the running game, make him throw in passing situations. I don't know that Ole Miss plays that kind of defense.
Coach, I got to ask you one quick question before we get out of here.
Yeah.
TCU, West Virginia, big dog, West Virginia, getting about 17. Come on, we pulling off the upset down there? What are we doing?
Well, I've been with everybody. I've been with my boys here. They've started 4 different quarterbacks already this year. They don't know where to go. I hate to say it, but I think TCU and the points on this one because West Virginia has a terrible quarterback situation and they don't know where to go.
Sometimes not about the X's and O's, Coach. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes out there. Thank you for joining us today. Enjoy your day at West Virginia. And as always, we'll talk to Coach next week right here on College Football Today on the SportsGrid Network. We'll be right back. Rat Pack Edition. You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
yeah, come on,
right? I mean, really, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
We've had an undefeated regular season a couple times in the NFL. The Patriots, of course, did it before losing in the Super Bowl to the Giants. The 72 Dolphins, of course, did it en route to a Super Bowl win. But to go winless is harder than to win every single game. And my New York Jets are well on their way to doing this.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid College Football Today. It's the time of show we absolutely love. It's the Rat Pack. We love Coach Bowden when he comes on. We talk the biggest games here, have some fun, but then we switch it over to the Rat Pack, which means the games that you might not be paying attention to, the games that people like, oof, that's terrible. Who stole my cheese at this point? We're going to make some cheese on some of these games, Joe. The Rat Pack, it's essential to the SportsGrid
Now,
network.
how come Miami wasn't in the Rat Pack games?
Come on, you can't lower that.
Come on.
You can't lower because we might get a
30-point favorite, and we didn't have him in the Rat Pack.
Come on.
That's
now.
all you
Don't
when we put the
disrespect them.
show together.
Don't worry.
I said Rat Pack. You said no.
By the way, next week LSU is going to start making Rat Pack editions just because of their playing in football.
No,
game.
let me tell you,
they lose today. What happened? What happens today? They lose.
They'll be dead to me. I'm
Yeah,
serious.
why?
Because
You
Donnie,
giving up your front runner? They're dead to
I'm
you?
not, dead to 4 years,
You gave
Donnie.
up on
They
the
went,
Dolphins. Now you're giving up on
Dolphins
LSU?
have a gutless head coach, and if LSU loses tonight, they'll be gutless as well. I'll say it. Brian Kelly, I mean, it's not worth the money. I could get anybody off the street to lose 4 games.
Hear me out on this. McDaniel to LSU.
Stop.
Come on now.
Come on, just stop.
That get you going?
No.
Nussmeier come, but he probably bargained for another
You
year.
wearing
at LSU to
cargo
get that
pants
guy.
back there? What are you doing?
No. You know what? That's not a bad idea at this point right now to try to do that. Talking about cargo pants, where's the cargo for Wisconsin on the road today, Joe? Rat Pack game number 1, getting 31.5 points. Look at the total. Now, this total tells me, Joe, it's like 41-0 Oregon. Is that what this is telling me? How is it 44.5 in an Oregon game? Wisconsin is that bad? They're 19-20s.
They got shut out
bad?
three weeks in a row, Donnie. I mean, their offense is terrible. I will say this. I was on this team last year in Camp Randall, 16.5-point underdogs. They actually covered. It was one of their better efforts, and Oregon, one of their worst performances on the road. Oregon won 16-13 and didn't cover as a 16.5-point road favorite. Now they're catching basically 32 points. The only way Wisconsin could win this game, from the spread perspective, not outright, run the football, slow the game down, get them into long third downs, and hope that you can make a play. But Luke Fickell, for me, is dead man walking. He could have written his ticket anywhere, and now the guy can't even win a big game in Madison and Camp Randall. I would reluctantly take the points, but again, this game is not going to make my card.
Look, when Barry Alvarez was at Wisconsin, he made no bones about it. He says, we can't really compete maybe with the Michigans or the Ohio States of the world.
Darren Bevel days and Brent Moss.
We're going to find our level, which means we're going to go and find the best running backs in the country, the biggest, nastiest offensive line.
They
we're
don't
run
play
the
like that anymore.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, hear me out on this. Like, that was your MO. And then all of a sudden, sometimes you get too big for your britches and was, hey, you know what? We should be on the same plane as Ohio State. We can win national championships. Let's go and get a modernized offense. How'd that work out for Wisconsin?
No, the problem is that Luke Fickell brings in Phil Longo from Ole Miss at the time.
Yeah.
And they
dairy raid, Joe. Come on.
Yeah, but the problem was they didn't have the personnel to run that offense, number one, Donnie. And then all of a sudden, when Longo left for North Carolina, or vice versa, when he left Sam Houston State now, basically this offense is a one or a two-man route. You can't win in today's college football when you can't run the football.
Army-Navy can do a one-man route.
But they have a two-man route. How are you going to put up points?
Max protect, Joe.
Come on,
protect.
Donnie. What kills me is that how Luke Fickell allowed this to happen. He was supposedly a great head coach.
Yeah.
You're not going to win in the Big Ten with a two-guy route and no quarterback play. They bring in Billy Edwards from Maryland, Danny O'Neal from San Diego State. Both are terrible. Edwards was hurt, and now they're on their third quarterback. The offensive line is weak, and they haven't recruited. So you tell me, where are they going?
They got to get Chris Chambers. They need Chris Chambers type athlete, a wide receiver. Come on, man. We can believe
Dante
in them right now.
Cephas, remember
Who was
him?
the kid from Buffalo, though? That was
Cephas.
Lee.
Stop. Lee DeRamus.
We know where he went to high school?
Here we go. Jersey?
Edgewood High School.
All
There
right,
you go,
there
New
you go.
Jersey. Let's move on to the next one, Joe. Oklahoma State, their weekly appearance on Rat Pack, because every week they're supposed to get smashed. So Oklahoma, where did we get this? Oklahoma State used to factor into the Big 12 championships, maybe a college football playoff, maybe even make a late run at a possible national championship. It used to be in the picture with 2 to 3 games left. They're getting 38.5 points from Texas Tech.
They're going to get smoked today.
Oh, my goodness.
Smoked after Arizona State won that game. What was crazy is I was on Arizona State.
Yeah.
Right? I was catching anywhere from 6.5 to basically 8.5, 9.5 in the game. They had the lead for the whole game. In the final 2 minutes, Hammond had the lead, and then in 30 seconds, Sam Levitt went the length of the field, and they win it outright. But at the end of the day, David Bradley and that front seven are going to abuse the Oak State offensive line. What did they lose to Oregon earlier in the year, 69-3?
Yeah.
Could look something like that today.
By the way, you remember Lee Evans? How about that?
Lee Evans. But wasn't Lee DeRamus
He
the
did
guy?
go there, too.
Yeah.
Same guy. There we go. Ripping it down the list. See, same guy. No big deal at this point, Joe. Minnesota and Iowa. Does anybody score? I'm just going to ask you that. Does anybody score?
Yes.
7-3.5. What's the over-under in the first half? 10?
It's 39.5 in this game, right? I mean, Gronowski, but I will say Lindsey and that offense for Minnesota are sustaining drives. Give me the 8.5 with P.J. Fleck. I'll row it today.
Rowing the boat here. By the way, Virginia and UNC. Rowing, Mike
The
Lombardi,
South's
the
oldest rivalry, not the deep South,
GM.
South's oldest rivalry. I'll take the points with Belichick.
Oh, there you go. Taking the points with Belichick here. The Rat Pack, hour number 2 on its way. You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play
This
really
team
good
is
defense,
horrible.
and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah, come on.
Right? I mean, really. I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
We've had an undefeated regular season a couple times in the NFL. The Patriots, of course, did it before losing in the Super Bowl to the Giants. The 72 Dolphins, of course, did it en route to a Super Bowl win. But to go winless is harder than to win every single game. And my New York Jets are well on their way to doing this.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.